Hello guys, I'm Fizzy and welcome back to another round, or double rounds even, in the AOR Formula Renault 3.5 Championship on Project Cars. This is the round at the Nürburgring GP circuit. This is the 5th and 6th race of the season as we continue in the double race format with first a feature race of 30 minutes and a sprint race of 15. So it'll be 45 minutes worth of racing action here at this Nürburgring GP circuit in my Panasonic liveried from the Renault car. So currently we are in qualifying as usual at the start of the video for the feature race, just showing you the best lap that I did, very close to going off the track with all four wheels there, but I think my right tire just about touched the white line to make that okay. A little bit off the apex there, but it's a very cambered corner down to hairpin. Off that and then flat out. You gotta remember to close DRS there. Of course, you gotta remember this car does have a DRS which you have to manually open, and then of course it does close when you apply the brakes, for example, like for this corner there. But for the Schumacher S, which I went through a few corners ago, you need to manually close it with the button because you don't apply the brakes before you go through there. So gotta remember that, otherwise it can be quite scary losing the back end going through there. And then the final chicane, the penultimate couple of corners there. Not the best I've done those, I think, on that particular occasion, but I got through them alright. A little bit of traffic ahead, but that's fine because this is the final corner. We're coming on to the start-finish straight to see what our lap time will be in this qualifying session. We are going to go P1 in this session with about 5 minutes to go, but nobody could beat that time later as well, and I did get pole as a result by just over a tenth of a second over Pedro, and then further half a tenth or so over Today, who is my closest championship rival. After the first 4 rounds, he is only 13 points behind me in the championship, whereas Pedro is a further 7 points behind him. So we are now just going to jump straight into the feature race from pole position. The green lights are well out, and we actually got a good start. What is this? We got a pretty good launch of the line there, considering we messed up all the 4 previous starts, but then braking very early down into turn. Want to be quite careful. Did hit the apex nicely, but Pedro managed to take so much speed around the outside despite going very, very deep there. So Pedro actually into the lead here at the early stage, and at this point I was a little bit unsure whether I actually had a car on my inside, but it did turn out Today was down there. So that's why I didn't turn in, because that would have been an accident if I turned into him. He did go a bit wide there, but I couldn't take advantage. Estebano as well, pressuring a little bit behind, so we dropped 2 positions off the start. So although I actually managed to finally sort out my launch off the line on the green lights, the first corner and then the corners following it was not the best I've ever done. So Today and Pedro, my 2 championship rivals, unfortunately gained the upper hand on me in the early part of this race. And well, the reason I've actually sorted out my start line procedure is that I've turned off auto clutch, which I apparently had on without even knowing. And auto clutch on this, well, it clearly means that this car isn't as responsive as when you apply the clutch manually at the start of the race. So that certainly helps my start procedure, but it can be a little bit more risky as well, in the sense that if you do spin and the car comes to a complete halt without you managing to apply the clutch in time when that happens, the car will actually stall and turn the engine off, meaning you have to assign buttons to manually turn the engine on again, which can be a little bit complicated. You have to turn the ignition on and then turn the press the turn engine button on, as we are now on to lap 2 with a bit of traffic there in the apex going through there. So that didn't really, you know, it's a little bit scary as always, but didn't really cost any of us any time. Didn't really manage to keep up with Today though, as we're now on to lap 3, and you can see in the foreground Today up the inside of Pedro is going to have a move for the lead, and Pedro is forced very, very wide and is going to not have a chance to retain that position. So Today, a little bit unfortunate considering he's my closest championship rival, but both these guys very, very strong drivers as they've shown so far this season. So Today now leading this race, and well, I tried to keep up. Oh, and then I had to have a big save there after keeping up reasonably well for 2.5 laps. On lap 3 it just was the curb didn't like my car. It almost looked like it threatened to flip my car even, and then the grip was completely gone around the corner. oversteer happen, and I had to save it, so that definitely cost me a lot of momentum and a second and a half or so to the cars ahead. So now on to lap 9. Nothing's changed in that time. My pace pretty much identical to Pedro and today, but you can see they are coming into a bit of a trouble with traffic right now. There was a car spinning off who was a lap down, and then another lapped car there, which held them up a little bit, I think. Luckily let me pass nicely, so I did gain some time on them there. And then another couple of cars on the next lap, DJ and Vice Guy having to not take quite the ideal line there up the inside of Vice Guy through turn 6 there, and down through turn 7. This time not getting over there on the curb, and yeah, getting close to Pedro then as well. And he's missed the well, he's not missed the apex, he's just taken a very awkward line through the chicane there, which actually is giving me a potential chance at overtaking him down the start-finish straight with the slipstream. Today, though, you can see he's a couple of seconds ahead. He's really not putting a foot wrong so far this race, pulling away while Pedro is struggling a little bit. I didn't dare, though, to dive it up the inside there. Wasn't really close enough, and he braked quite late anyway, so I don't think I would have been able to pull that off even if I had tried it. But now on lap 13, only a bit over 5 laps to go in this race. We are still hanging on to the back of that Renault Sport car that Pedro is running. You can see on the minimap as well, there is no threat from behind, so all my focus is on Pedro. Maybe to get a run down into the chicane. No, not a place to overtake if you're this far back. So we're going to have to wait, or do we? Because Pedro's going completely off the track there. He's cut the chicane onto the grass and he's now behind us. So, that's not the most entertaining way to pass someone. You know, would have preferred to get by him with a good overtake, but you know, I did apply the pressure, and clearly he couldn't quite take it on that occasion, made a mistake that allowed me into second place, and well, for the rest of the race it was all about pushing as hard as I possibly could to catch today. But as you can see, we only have a corner to go in this race. I really pushed hard in the final five laps to try to catch up to today, but in the end he was just too strong. He could afford to make that little mistake he had there on the final lap, because of the gap that he had already when I started my chase. So he won the race here, the feature race at Nürburgring, with me in second, 0.5 of a second behind Pedro, as much as 9 seconds down on the lead in the end. And then nice to see Frejo and Gibbs up in the top 5 as well. So after a quick stretch and drink, the focus quickly shifts to the sprint race. And in qualifying for that, I could not quite match my quality time from the first race. But look at the time, 139.334 or 335 as it says here. It was 0.003 of a second off was what today did. And that is a close margin and a very annoying margin, which was a difference between pole and not pole in this one. This time for me, it was not pole for the sprint race, but ahead of Pedro at least, who is starting P3, and then again Esteban down in P4 behind me. Bit of wheel spin off the line now, but again it's a good start. This manual clutch is really working wonders here. We actually jumped today already off the start line and into turn 1, but getting on the brakes we were a little bit too deep, just missed the braking point slightly, and that has proved costly, because today was able to get on the inside and carry much better speed through there and retake the position straight away. That is really frustrating after the great launch that we had. Pedro having to hold off Esteban back there, and it looked like in my mirror that Esteban actually spun off into the wall, so he is lost out there. Pedro over a second behind already, while we are just clinging on to today now. And now of course it is a similar situation to what it was in the first race, except that we are behind today a lot earlier on in the race. It was the bad start that really cost me in that first race, and I didn't get up to today until right at the end, whereas now we are right with him from lap 2 in this, or lap 1 even, in this 9-lap race. But we are now on to lap 4, and this is a crucial battle for the championship, of course. Going into this event, today was 13 points behind me at the top of the championship. He then of course closed that down to 8 points with a win in the feature race, with me in second, and then now he can, well, whoever wins this gets the advantage of another 3 points. It is 15 for the win and 12 for the second place in the feature race, sprint race, whereas in the feature race it is 25 for the win, 20 for second place. And today already showing his intentions very clearly, going super defensive for the hairpin, does not want to give me any sort of opportunity to slip up the inside. Now again, closing the RS and going flat out through the Schumacher S, just clinging onto the back of him, getting a bit of nice slipstream as well. It's, yeah, well, I knew that it was going to be hard to get past today. We know how fast he is, of course. Any of those of you who watched the previous video at Monza, he dominated both of those two races. Luckily around here, I'm closer to today on pace, but he's still very, very strong. We're gaining on him here, though, in the slipstream, but once again, he's going to move to the inside line to block me off and make me go the long way around, which is super difficult around the chicane. I'm going to try and cut back and actually get a better exit out of there instead, and maybe the inside line, but no, not close enough quite for the final corner, but obviously pulling back into the outside line to get the proper exit. But yeah, today actually nailing that better than I did, but still we have a nice slipstream opportunity. Move into the inside he is once again. I would have moved to there if he hadn't, but we aren't quite fully alongside this time either. So once again today holds me off, and I'm going to have to try some other time, which probably isn't going to be through this section because it's a pretty damn tricky one, although it has gone pretty deep there. Not the ideal line. We have got a lot better run through the next corner actually. This is not a normal overtaking place, but we got a good launch. But once again, once we pulled out of the slipstream, we're just no longer gaining and couldn't get alongside once again. So better not to dive bomb on that fast corner to not cause any incident. Still half this race to go on laps 5 out of 9 at this moment in time. Pedro still hanging on about 2 seconds behind, but not threatening right this moment in time. My focus is fully on today, aka the beauty for some reason. And he really is giving me a hard time, but that is what I want. It is always very, very fun to really feel that you need to push to your absolute maximum to get what you want, and what I want in this race is of course the race win. And today, once again, out of there, hasn't had the best exit, meaning we're going to get a great run once again down towards the super tricky chicane. We're going to go side by side into there. This time, I'm further alongside, but on the outside still, so I'm going to try to hang it round there. And today, always not much room there. Today has touched my front tire ever so slightly there. They kind of turn into me. I'm not sure how I feel about that one, to be perfectly honest. That was very, very forceful. I was forced to back out of it there midway through the chicane. Luckily, no damage caused there from him being, you know, a little bit aggressive, but maybe he didn't expect me to try and actually hold it around the outside of the chicane, because that is something you don't see often either. So, well, I'm gonna have to try another time then. Once again, today is just impossible right now. Lap 7 out of 9, running out of time here. Only 2.5 laps to go in this race, and a back marker also coming up ahead. Once again, getting close to this section of the track. My car's working well through here, and then onto the back straight once again. Not as close as on the previous occasion, but we might still have a chance to get the slipstream. But no, I think we're going to run out of straight on this particular occasion. But still, today just showing his intention is going to take that inside line if he needs to. Both of us just really, really pushing and focusing on this battle. It's not often you get these kinds of intense battles in league racing, and it's very, very enjoyable. But of course, I'm still not happy until I get past. But although I seem to have a bit of an advantage in the middle part of the lap, he always nails the exit at the final corner, which makes it hard for me to get a proper round down into what theoretically should be the best overtaking opportunity in this track, but for me is not. So he still holds on and now has to negotiate that back marker, who loses the back end. Oh, and the back marker spotted, and we have to back off as well. Woo! Jesus almighty, that is close. That is not what you want in the middle of an intense lead battle. Luckily, I think both of us just about managed to react to that and slow down without any sort of damage or touch with the back marker there. That was definitely a poop in pants moment, if I were to say so myself. But it literally affected nothing. I mean, I don't know, maybe I could have been a little bit more reactive on the throttle, you know, as that back marker was spinning out of my way, and tried to make the move there. But even so, I wouldn't really have wanted to pass today that way. I mean, that would have been just a very, very unfortunate way to win the race. You know, obviously nothing today could have done with that back marker just spinning in front of him, and luckily, as I said, no one affected in terms of damage, so we can continue our battle now. But actually, for the first time in this race, it feels like he actually got a better run than me onto the back straight. So for once, I'm not going to have a run into the chicane there, although I did close a lot under braking there. That was nice and sweet as you like, but Let's see this time then if we can go through the final corner and gain time, and in which we haven't done very often. This is his corner in this race, and again you can just see how much traction he gets. Luckily the next backmarker gets out of the way nicely without any sort of problems, as we now head down into turn 1 on the final lap of the race. And yeah, it went a bit funny there. Yeah, it was crucial for today to, as it always does, to get that run out of the final corner, because that means I no longer have an opportunity to get him down into turn 1, because we are not going to pass down there any more times in this race. But through the twisty first sector now, coming out of turn 5, and we get a fantastic launch out of there, pulling out from behind him. Can we find a way through on the inside? I'm going to try, but oh, they're so close. There is no way through. He just about left me enough room, and I might even have tapped his rear tire. Oh, and then we get oversteer out of 7. That might just have ended that one. I tried to cut back for the best possible launch down towards the hairpin, but that tiny piece of oversteer just completely stopped me in my tracks there. And luckily I saved it, of course, but a little bit frustrated with that one, because I felt like, as I was going on the throttle out of turn 7 there, I felt like that was my opportunity to really get a good run. But the oversteer would have it otherwise. And now we're on the outside though. Maybe can we find a way? No, we cannot. Once again, a tiny touch maybe on his red tire. There is literally, I'm trying everything, throwing everything at today here, but there is no way through. And as always, he's going to defend as well into the chicane. We are not enough alongside to try another round as I move there. So we're going to be behind him, and we know today he always nails this final corner. It needs a miracle if you're going to screw this up now. And there we go. He's round. And the sprint race has also ended with today just in front of me. But this time, luckily, well, I said luckily, this time at least, I gave him a proper fight. That really was an exceptional battle between the two of us. I mean, yeah, I don't know what more I can say. I really tried everything. Today just defended super well. So fair play to him. And, wow, that is one of the better battles I've had in league racing, certainly this game at least. But we do have to settle for second place, 2/10 of a second behind with Pedro, a bit over 1 second behind as well. Whew. A little bit of breathing, as we can now look at how that affects the championship today. Now with 4 wins on the trot. This time though I managed to finish second in both, unlike in Monza, to at least limit the points lost as much as possible. But he is now 2 points, is that right? No, luckily I read that wrong. He's 5 points behind now, after 6 out of 16 races in this season have been completed. So a little bit worrying, the form of today. He has just been on top in the last 2 events, so I hope the next time in Catalonia I can do something with him. But at least positive that we have yet to finish outside the podium this season so far. So that is it for this time in the Formula Renault 3.5 League on AOR. And next week, as I mentioned, we will be at Circuit de Catalunya Barcelona for rounds 7 and 8. So I hope you will join me for that one. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you in Catalonia. Goodbye.